Welcome inside the locker room for a week 3 review here. Fantasy Sports Locker Room. We're downtown Toronto as always. Dundas and Yonge Shark Club in Toronto. We're going to play the Chicago Bears New York Jets game here tonight for you. They're going to give away good deals. How much one of these guys cost you?
I think it's like $6.50. I mean, I've lost count for the weeks, to tell you the truth.
It might be even cheaper, like
$6?
$5.50 maybe.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Anyway,
$2.
the
change.
Schooners are cheap.
I know last week they were giving out some nice jerseys. Week 1 they gave out a nice jersey. They usually have like a little questionnaire: who's going to get the first sack, who's going to win, who's going to score first, field goal, all that good stuff. Come down here, check out the football game, and enjoy some good food and some cheap drinks. All right.
Right on.
Chris Meany, John Collins, Mike Omelon, S. McLaren. Thanks for stopping in here in the locker room. Let's talk some football, guys. I guess, should we start with, what was the biggest fantasy game? Washington and Philadelphia. I mean, 6 players combined for 160 points, and LaShawn McCoy and Alfred Morris weren't either of the 6.
Well, so Mike, you
there.
want me to start with something from that game, don't you?
Kirk Cousins, this guy was talking smack about him last week.
I was, and I made a little bet, actually, and thank God everything, for the sake of the patrons here at Shark Club, everything worked out. I said that if Kirk Cousins went into the link, and managed to throw for 67%, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, as he had the week prior, I give him a lot of credit. I'd probably do the broadcast with my shirt off. Now, good news for me, Cousins for a pick. Bad news for the Eagles, he had a nice day, right?
Yeah, not that bad for the Eagles, though.
It worked out. Kirk Cousins looked every bit the part of what you'd want him to be as a quarterback of your Washington Redskins or as a fantasy football quarterback as well. I mean, I think after seeing this, you're going to start to think about him as back-end QB1 utility from week to week. He's got playmakers on that offense, and what I really like this week is that he knew how to use them.
16 targets for Garcon.
16 targets for Garcon, 11 for Deshaun, and the deep pass to Deshaun Jackson, it was a beauty. It hit him in stride, wide open, laid it in there. I thought it was great. Yeah, that's what I like the most, I think, about Kirk Cousins' performance is that he knew to get the ball to those guys. Now, they're not going to have 75 or 77 offensive snaps every week, so they're not going to throw it as many times, which means Garcon's not going to have 11 catches every week. But he went to his guys. I liked it.
Yeah, I loved it. I think he's a top 10 QB. Just, the fact that RG3 was, I think you could just slide Kirk Cousins right in. He made every throw, the short, the intermediate, and the deep balls. He looked great doing it. And like you mentioned, this team is just stacked with playmakers. Deshaun Jackson, Pierre Garçon. They have Jordan Reed, who's out, but now it's Paul, a former wide receiver, playing tight end. They got a running back in Alfred Morris that can keep the defense honest. They got a good pass-catching back in Roy Halou. Tons of weapons for Kirk Cousins. As long as he's not playing a top defense, which he is in 2 weeks against Seattle. But other than that, when he's not playing a team like that, this guy's going to be putting up top fantasy points.
Well, he was just dealt in one of my leagues for Frank Gore straight up.
For Frank Gore?
Yeah.
Frank Gore would probably be disgruntled about that, just like he's disgruntled about his 6 carries this week.
Frank Gore's it's tough to own that guy.
It's a bit off script for me, but it is tough to own Frank Gore right now. Now, he played 2/3 of the snaps, a lot more than Carlos Hyde played, but Hyde had 5 touches. Colin Kaepernick ran the ball constantly, and Hyde looked pretty good. That touchdown he scored, just smack contact, bowled over the guy. He's an aggressive runner. He's looked every bit the part of an NFL athlete in the first 3 weeks of the season. Frank Gore he'll get more than 6 on a given week, but I think you're more looking at a 13 to 16 touchback. 16 is the most he's had all season, the rest of the way, than you are a 20 carry back. Am I right?
Yeah. What he does have going for him is he didn't get much work and they lost. So they might be inclined to give him a little bit more after not succeeding.
You are not going to see Colin Kaepernick run the ball 13 times next week, I'll tell you that.
The Cardinals are a top 5 run defense. So.
I know a lot of people are talking to me about McCoy, and they're all ticked off about McCoy. One guy come up to me today and said, McCoy got me 2 fantasy points. Do I start him next week? Yeah, he hasn't done anything all year is what he's saying to him. You still got to start him. There's some issues in Philadelphia, too, now that they have 4 offensive linemen out of that game.
So that's right.
Kelsey's 6 to 8 weeks.
Right.
Matthews is going to be still several weeks. Lane Johnson has one more game
One
to
more
serve
game.
on his suspension, and Andre Barber, another guy who's there too. So that doesn't help McCoy. He's
Not a
not
bit, and that's
start.
the point that I was going to make, actually. Now, as far as yesterday's game go, Washington's run defense looked pretty sharp. Their pass defense is Swiss cheese right now, and D'Angelo Hall just went down for the season, and Dookie Inacho. So, like, their secondary, which was already in trouble, is worse. But those linebackers are quick in pursuit of the ball. They got all over LaShawn McCoy and a beat-up offensive line yesterday. But, yeah, you're starting Shady. I mean, Shady, he had 20 touches. Darren Sproles had 5.
He was banged up with the concussion a little bit too, but I think you have to give some credit to that Washington front seven. Sure, yeah. Yeah, you bet.
All right. Ordering up our schooners here on special tonight. 39 cents for wings as well. Come join us.
We did draft. You want to talk about the trade?
Yeah, actually, I think our guy, Discount Dan, might have just walked in here. Discount Dan Dolacek has come on the advice page about 20 minutes ago. He asked us a question, and I've answered him already, but I think it's a good trade question that we could talk about as a round table. So Dan is in a 10-team PPR league, and he's got Roma at quarterback, which is a moot point to this conversation. He's got Jamal Charles, who he has handcuffed with Niall Davis, so he's good to go there. Alfred Morris right now, and some solid receivers, actually. 3 top 12 receivers, unless you want to talk about Andre Johnson, and we'll probably talk about him a little later, because I like DeAndre Hopkins. But he has Dennis Pitta at tight end. Now, his reserve, not anymore. Now, his reserve backs, Jeremy Hill, who's getting a fair bit of work in scoring for Cincinnati. Toby Gerhart, who is not for Jacksonville, but is still starting running back. And Rashad Jennings, who had a very nice day and a lot of work yesterday. And Dan's question is, he's getting offered Rob Gronkowski for his Morris. And the question is, does he bite? He needs to replace Dennis Pitta.
Yeah, I'm betting on that. Because like he has Jamal Charles and now Davis.
He's got Charles and Davis, and on his bench, he's got Rashad Jennings.
He got Rashad Jennings, who is a pretty capable back right now. He's getting a ton of work for New York. Alfred Morris, you know, the problem with Morris, I love him, but when they're down, this guy is out of the game plan. He does not catch the ball whatsoever, and that really affects his value.
That's a good point. Now, Alf had 23 carries in a shootout of a game yesterday, so it's not like they're writing him off entirely.
Yeah.
But, he's not a guy they like catching the ball. Roy Halou only had 2 touches, but that script would have went a lot differently yesterday, I agree. And Halou vaulted the touchdown, right?
And then you're getting Gronkowski, who, you know, he's sorry?
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, sorry, they said no.
Yeah.
His snap counts keep going up. Week 1 was about 40%. Just went up to 57% in week 2.
They played 47 of 77 offensive snaps for New England.
Are we not worried about Tom Brady? I honestly,
but
you'll tell me more than anybody else because you watch him. But I watched Tom Brady yesterday, and I watched him miss several wide open passes. Brady to Gronk 15, 20 feet wide open, overthrew him by a mile.
And he had Danny Amendola stretching out. He missed him on a pass. Was pretty
EJ
efficient.
Manuel has more fantasy points than Tom Brady right now. Austin Davis has
I'm
more.
worried about Brady, but I'm not worried about Gronk. His snap count's going to continue to go up, and you saw in that game, Brady's looking at Gronk all
And
the
that's
time.
where I was going to go. Gronkowski is going to play a little more. Julian Edelman's having a nice season. Brady and him are in sync. He is out of sync with some of his other receivers. I'm actually not that worried about him. I'm still right around QB 10 or 12 range. Obviously, that's a downgrade for me from where I started him, but I think Brady's going to get it together, and I think Gronkowski, as he starts getting healthier, is going to make an impact. This guy's got 2 touchdowns in 3 games, almost had a second one yesterday. He got tipped, he had it in his hands, and just put it on the ground. 6 targets, 47 snaps played, and he's doing that while he is clearly not at his best. As you say, I watch a lot of Pats, and he's not explosive. Like, when you look at a guy like Travis Kelce, who runs that crossing route so sharp, so quick, that's what Gronkowski used to do to opposing defenses. He's not doing it this year, and he's still scoring fantasy points, and I love that. So, you know, as he gets better, I think the ceiling only goes up for Gronk, and I'm digging Gronkowski. What I said to Dan on our site is that the drop-off from Gronk to the waiver wire tight ends, even though Owen Daniels is there, Niles Paul, Jared Cook as examples, is more significant, clearly, than the drop-off from Morris to Rashad. And even if Jennings goes down, he's still got some backup start-worthy back, so I like the deal.
Well, that's the thing. You're buying low on Gronkowski right now. And a lot of leagues, at least all of mine, Gronkowski was drafted ahead of Alfred Morris. And that's the thing. If he doesn't throw that second touchdown on the ground yesterday afternoon, you're not getting him for Alfred Morris.
Absolutely. Guys that are watching box scores didn't see that. He's getting targets from Brady. He's one of the guys he trusts. I think Gronkowski, sky's the limit. I do hope to see him start running a few more seam routes and getting his legs back up to speed for sure, but I feel good. All right, so
moving forward, Julius Thomas or Rob Gronkowski?
I still like Gronkowski better. There's a lot of options. There's a lot of ball being spread around in Denver. I like Gronk.
After that week 1 performance, Julius Thomas, he's getting touchdowns, but he's having around 4 or 3 receptions for 30 yards.
I still like Thomas ahead of Gronk any day. And now Wes Welker's there too. That's going to cut into that 3 or 4.
There, Peyton Manning looks at one guy in the red zone for the most part, and it's Julius Thomas.
Gave him that reason why that little shovel is So what? He looks at him all the time. Peyton loves his tight ends. For me, it's still Thomas. I don't know if you want to segue into if Owen Daniels is the top of the waiver wire piece for you, because
Dan, if you're out there watching, hope that answers your question. Everybody else, get us on Twitter.
Yeah.
And we'll do what we can for you from week to week.
Was there a trade in this league, Shark League, that we're doing, or that was it? Okay. Owen Daniels was there. I have him as my second tight end, really. If Jordan Reed continues to miss time, which he probably will because he's Jordan Reed, Niles Paul has way more potential than Owen Daniels. Owen Daniels is for sure going to get the work for potentially the rest of the season with Dennis Pitta out, but we know what Owen Daniels' floor is. It's consistent. He's going to get you 5-6 points. He's going to rely on a score, and he's not always going to get it. All right, so there's some chances that they're not. Let's bring it around. Bring it around.
Nice. So the gentlemen are here from Shark Club. They've got their contest weekly. We help them store it. They've got a nice, sharp-looking Matt Forte jersey to give away.
That's mine tonight.
We're not going to rig it. Come on in, get in on the contest. We got a sharp-looking Forte jersey. Guys, this is Alec. He's a manager here at Shark Club. He's also in our league, fantasy sports league that we run with the club. He's got some NBA stuff coming in, and I want to get that Forte shirt.
Like I said, all you have to do is fill out a questionnaire. Who's going to get the first touchdown, field goal, who's going to win the game, who's going to lead at half, first sack, all that good stuff. That is a sharp-looking Matt Forte jersey. So
we're rigging that.
Where were we? Oh,
I wanted to go because there's some tight ends. Obviously, Dennis Pitta is done for the year. They're saying 6 to 8 weeks for Rudolph. So you might have to look to the waiver wire and figure that out. So I don't know. I don't know. Daniels is obviously near the top. I think he's still a borderline tight end 1. Because
I like Daniels.
Work with Nick Kubiak in Houston. You know, he's
really
already had
one
big
game
before.
and Kubiak likes to use the tight end.
The issue was, even with Dennis Pitta leaving the game yesterday, Owen Daniels did nothing. He had 1 catch for 8 yards.
He played 61 snaps in that game, had 1 catch. So that is a red flag, right? I wrote a Fantasy Pros, or with a couple of other guys, approved experts on Fantasy Pros, contributed to a piece that went live today. And it was ranking our top, let's say, 15, 16 waiver options for this week. They had 3 tight ends in there. I actually went Travis Kelce, who's still available in a majority of leagues. He's drawing a lot of targets for Kansas City, and again, looks fast and explosive on the routes that he's running. And Larry Donnell, who's getting a lot of work with the Giants in that new offense. This is a new offense with Ben McAdoo, and between Victor Cruz, getting a lot of targets, finally had a nice game yesterday. Rashad Jennings was running the ball a lot, and Larry Donnell. I think those are your 3 focal points of McAdoo's offense. You're seeing it on the film, and I'd go out there and get him, probably both of them, before I get Owen Daniels.
Yeah. Especially Kelsey. I don't know how Kelsey is still available. Just pick him up. Even if you don't need a tight end, pick him up.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, Kelsey should be on.
Yeah,
He's another guy.
He had a slow start, too, but a lot of people were kind of high on him as a deep sleeper. I don't know anybody else in your waiver wire piece. I know Lorenzo Talafero. We talked to him. I think I wrote an article about how he was a long-term, and then he didn't get any touches in the very next game. And I kind of felt like I hope people really did read it and look at how he is going to be the long-term guy there. He looked okay, but I guess Baltimore, they still say they're going to go with Pierce. They're going with Pierce. Of course, that's the change of pace guy. Talafero definitely long-term, keeper dynasty, but there's a chance that Pierce and Forsett prove that they can't do it on a regular basis. Talafaro proved he can do it yesterday.
And I think that's actually a reasonable chance that he gets another shot later this season. But if you're picking up Talafaro this week for a start in week 4, I don't think you're going to like the result.
If you're picking him up for a 5-week fill, and he's not going to do anything for it.
That's right. Now, he didn't play snaps already. Just to carry that thought a little bit further, with Pierce active last week, he didn't play a single snap. Now, he earned some more, no doubt. I don't think you'll see him inactive. But yeah, 4-set change of pace. They think Pierce is the starter right now. They're not going to flip that based on one game. It was nice, though.
But for one, I think it was a great thing to see from Talafaro. He had touched. Forsett had an opportunity to run away with that game, but Talafaro took over 18 rushes for 91 yards. I agree with you. Yes, week 4. I don't know. Probably can't count on him, but yeah, week 8
he gets another shot.
Yeah. So would you use a number 1 waiver claim on Talafaro?
I would. In fact, if I'm going to this,
Depends for me. Keeper league, dynasty, sure.
Because the thing is, you look at the waiver wire. You're in a competitive 10-12 team league. A 12-team league, competitive 12-team league, all the handcuffs are already gone. Now Davis is gone, Donald Brown is gone, LeGarrette Blount is gone in a majority.
But really, with 6 teams off in week 4, you likely need to replace a whole other team. That's what you're going to use the number 1 waiver claim on, not a guy who's going to help you.
It's all roster dependent, sure. But if you can afford a roster spot for a back that you think is going to break out, I liked what I saw enough from Talafaro, and I've disliked what I saw enough from Bernard Pierce the last couple of seasons that I think it's worth it. I want to mention that Fantasy Pros piece, for whatever it's worth, all 6 players ranked Talafaro as their number 1 waiver pickup for this week. Again, that's in a vacuum. It doesn't depend on your roster. You've got the buys coming. You've got other issues. But all 6 of us, and the only guy I can remember is Adam Pfeiffer, works for Project Roto. But everybody had him number 1, and I was among them.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody else in that piece you want to get to?
Yeah.
Donald Brown's out there in well over 40% of leagues. This guy had 48 touches yesterday. Didn't do a whole lot.
He didn't do a lot.
Average kind of going to get the volume because Woodhead is done for the year. Woodhead's gone for a week.
He had 36 touches, or 35, 36. Did you have to exaggerate to 48?
It was 48. It was
40
carries, 8 receptions.
He did not have 48 touches yesterday. I thought you were like blowing it up. He had 31 carries for 62 yards and 5 receptions. I wasn't calling you out. I just thought you were like exaggerating. And for me, 36 touches is big enough that we don't need to blow that out of the water. If he had 36, I promise. 48 touches, he wouldn't walk today.
Quite sure.
Anyway,
per average basis, not there. He didn't score. So what? Yeah. Bills like good offense, or good defense, excuse me, horrible offense. The Chargers, really good offense. And look, especially with nobody else there that can run a football.
I like Donald Brown a lot there.
Sad news on Danny Woodhead.
He didn't get a lot of touches.
Sad news for Phillip Rivers on Danny Woodhead. I mean, he used that guy in the pass game a little bit. That was chunk yards every week that he's going to have to replace. I hope he replaces him with Keenan Allen. I was all in on Allen this week.
He was a little bit of a distraction last night. Talking to a big Chargers fan last night, went to the game in Buffalo.
He had a groin injury.
They kind of used him as a little bit of a decoy, and it did work out. He didn't really, like you said, 2 targets.
Yeah, so I'm hopeful that turns around. I was all in on Allen this week, but it's something to keep in mind when you're evaluating players' health. Just because he's playing doesn't mean necessarily that he's going to be in his usual role. Yeah.
A guy I wanted to quickly add is a guy that I want to talk about is Cecil Shorts, the third. He was dropped and not hardly undrafted because of his injury to start the season. If he's available, I'm jumping on that. He's finally starting to get a little healthier. Blake Bortles coming in.
That offense looked a lot more alive.
Mania in Jacksonville. They were down 30-0, and the crowd was going nuts.
Right, and they're behind him. They were down 30-0, and that made the second half a heck of a lot easier for Blake Bortles, but that offense came to life. The receivers got work. Essen, I know you're busy working on Donald Brown and finding him an extra 12 touches.
Thanks. Season he has 48.
Congrats. It's a good number. It's a healthy number, and he's going to add to that next week for sure. Season shorts. Jacksonville, Blake Bortles. You and I had a little conversation about this last week. most of those receivers there are available in most leagues, probably.
Yeah.
Who's your guy?
Well, we talked about it a lot last night. Your guy, at least, Allen Robinson. Yes. He's owned in what percent of leagues? I think it's 1%. It might have been 0.
No, I had him last week in my lineup.
Okay, so I don't know if you're enough to be 1%, but
0.1
users.
Yeah. You like that?
Yeah, I liked having him. He got me 14, 15 points in PPR league. He's targeted a lot, used a lot. He's a number 2. Apparently he's had Alan Hearns.
The first going up, Allen Hearns is a fluke guy now. A big first quarter against the Eagles in week 1.
And who knows?
A big touchdown yesterday.
He's your weekly upside, Hearns, I think, but he only had 3 targets this week. Fair question about Shorts' health, although we act like he gets hurt, I think, a lot more than he actually does. He was out a little bit in 2013, but I think he played every game in 2012. Don't quote me. But Shorts had 10 targets and caught the touchdown. He looked good with Blake Bortles. He got most of his 10 looks with Bortles in the game. And I like Allen Robinson as well. It's really hard to know there with Marquise Lee coming back.
He's already ruled out
week 4. Yeah. All right, so there you go for week 4. I mean, I think those are some guys you can all look at in daily fantasy because Jacksonville's going to have to throw the ball a lot. But for me, I think it's Robinson and Shorts, and Hearns is way down my list. He only got 3 looks. If he doesn't get that touchdown, there's nothing to it. He has 0.
I like Marquise Lee a lot, too, and I know a lot of people have given up on him because of the injury. He's ruled out. He's somebody that maybe if you're in a keeper dynasty league later on, you wait till you see if he comes back. Because Blake Bortles now, all of a sudden, he's going to be that QB there. He's got all these young wide receivers to fill the chemistry with Robinson, a rookie, Marcus Lee, also a rookie. So it's going to be interesting to see how that
kind of watch snaps and targets. And for what it's worth, I write a piece every Wednesday where we run down that in pretty good detail. You're going to want to watch those snaps and those targets just to see how that all shakes out over the next 2-3 weeks, and then maybe you make your move if they're still available.
Who would you rather have, Bortles or Bridgewater?
Teddy B.
Bridgewater.
I don't know. I think I want Bortles. I like that power arm he's got over there.
Got it.
And he's got what we just talked about, the Robinson, Hearns, Shorts, and
from a
both of them
Marcus
finished their
Lee.
feet, too.
Indeed, Bortles had a nice run yesterday.
30 yards. Asiata's a lot better than Toby Gerhart, too. Toby Gerhart sucks.
Minnesota wishes that they had Toby Gerhart in their lineup this season, I'll tell you that.
Better than Asiata. He's a bum.
I think it's probably moot at this point because Gerhart runs behind Jacksonville's offensive line, which just has not looked good. Now, Blake Bortles only took 1 sack in his half yesterday after Chad Henne had 3 in the first half, but not a good offensive line there. What we're going to see in Jacksonville that favors Bortles a bit is they're probably going to lose more than Minnesota, but Minnesota's still going to lose more often than they win. Both of these guys are going to be in shootouts. That's why you're interested in both of them probably from a fantasy perspective. I like Bridgewater. He got out of the pocket a lot yesterday. Bortles had the long run, but Bridgewater ran more. He's going to add points with his legs every week, and he's got weapons, right?
All right. Do you take Mike Glennon over either one of those 2?
Yes.
Yeah? Over both?
Man. For me,
I mean, they're all like in QB 18 to 20
when you look at those guys, you got to look at the matchup. If you're playing a bottom 10 defense, you got to go whoever's playing the worst defense pretty much.
So I probably own Bridgewater or Bortles because it's more fun, frankly, to own Bridgewater or Bortles. If I'm backing up my quarterback, if I've got a second guy. But if I'm looking for a weekly fill-in, I think you go Glennon. He's got some nice weapons there. He's getting Doug Martin back this week, and make no mistake, after the way Bobby Rainey played on Thursday night against Atlanta, this is Doug Martin's backfield again.
Vincent Jackson also has like a small fracture in his wrist. He's going to play through it all year, so I don't know if that affects anything or not.
That's troubling because Vincent Jackson had 10 targets, only bringing 2 of them in last week.
For whatever that was touchdown pretty late in that blowout.
I didn't know that.
I like Bridgewater at the start of the year, but I'm a little bit worried. There's no AP there anymore. Now Rudolph is not there anymore. That was supposed to be a big part of Minnesota's offense this year.
The only thing Matt Asiata does any good is catch the ball. He can't run in the middle of the field for anything. He can work a little bit in space. He had a big gainer yesterday, maybe in the 40-yard range against New Orleans. He had the receiving touchdown against New England the week prior, and he looks better outside the tackles. He can't run into the middle of the field. He averages 2.8 per carry, so I would argue a little bit that Asiata might be a better fantasy tool for a quarterback in terms of net yardage that he's getting actually throwing in the fall than Peterson. But that already feels bad coming out of my mouth, so take a cut of square.
The only reason why I'd say Bortles over Bridgewater. Bortles, yeah, he's got the bigger arm. He's going to have more of those big plays. He's going to have some 60, 70-yard touchdown passes to those young receivers. Teddy Bridgewater, this guy's a game manager. A lot of checkdowns, a lot of short passes from Bridgewater. They're kind of hoping that he breaks one with his legs, which he might. He might break up his legs, but you can't count on him.
I'm really excited about Bortles. Like watching him in college, watching him in the preseason. I know it was only preseason, but he looked really good. And yesterday, that arm, he has a can. I know he threw 2 picks, 2 touchdowns, and that's what you're going to get.
You're going to take the good with the bad, right?
Like John said,
you're going to
be down in games. For the most part, they're going to be down by 20, 30 points. You're playing Indy this week. Like, they could be down already by 3 touchdowns before it gets going. So, or no, they didn't.
Yeah, Indy's defense not the greatest. The Texans show that their defense isn't the greatest.
All right. They're playing San Diego. That's right. Okay, let's go into top backs. I know John's got big circle here. McCoy, Brutal, Charles, Hurt, Foster, Hurt, AC.
I wanted to ask you guys to go. Just go. Top running back rest of the season. Assuming no injuries. Assuming everybody's back and healthy. Top back.
Le'Veon Bell.
Bell, right?
Wow, I want to be different now, but
I know what you're gonna say.
No, you don't know.
Don't say Le'Veon Bell.
I know. I was about to say Le'Veon Bell. He is so nasty.
He's shifty.
He's dancing around. He's probably the most exciting guy to watch.
The fact that he was able to run out of Carolina defense. He's in that defense, but still, he looked pretty good.
Yeah, but I mean, I can't go. Shady McCoy, he's a man. He had a bad week against Washington, but there's no way. And I'd put Shady.
The true answer for me is LaShawn McCoy.
And I don't want to go knocking some of these top backs off a couple of bad weeks. LaShawn McCoy is a guy who's still getting a lot of work. I'm worried about that offensive line. We touched on that earlier. Arian Foster missed a game. We're not sure about his hamstring for week 3. Looked pretty good when he was on the field. We'll give him a pass. Adrian Peterson, get out of here. Eddie Lacy has not looked sharp at all this season.
Really tough defense.
3 top defenses, absolutely.
Give him a pass still. I tried to lowball somebody and get Eddie Lacy.
Monty Ball, I was very high on this season. Not looking too good. Not looking like No-Sean, that's for sure. So, as I go down my preseason running back ranks, this leads me to a guy named DeMarco Murray in Dallas.
Throw up the X, baby.
Now, DeMarco is on pace for 400 carries, and he is surely going to fall apart.
74, 75 already.
He's going to fall apart before he gets there. Here's something that DeMarco Murray has done every week this season. Had at least 25 touches, had at least 100 rushing yards, and scored a touchdown. He's also fumbled in every game. We're hopeful he gets that on track, but Dallas is going to keep feeding him the ball. If he doesn't get hurt on a per-game basis, I don't see how you can go away with DeMarco Murray. They're running that offense through him. He's getting all kinds of work, and, man, he is shifty, too. 28 missed tackles, I want to say, leads the league. He's Pro Football Focus's most elusive back to date. Le'Veon Bell right behind him, mind you. But, man, DeMarco Murray looks good running the ball.
Yeah, they're 1-2 in yards.
The two hottest backs in the league right now are Le'Veon Bell and DeMarco Murray.
And I guess the question is who sustains it.
Gio Bernard's done pretty well so far, too.
Gio, he has done well. I liked his fantasy output yesterday. He hasn't averaged more than 4 yards a carry yet.
Yeah, that's the thing. But
he's surprising. He's a quick, elusive back as well.
But he's getting all kinds of opportunities there in Cincinnati. The one thing I did love from DeMarco Murray, Cowboys down 21-0. Years pass,
and he comes down.
Cowboys be throwing it nonstop, but they kept feeding DeMarco Murray despite being trailing in that game. Yeah.
It took them a long time to figure it out, but it looks like they finally figured it out.
And it looks good on them.
And it's not so good for Romo.
Yeah, it's not, but they're going to keep trailing because the defense isn't so great, so I think he still nets a few points. He had a couple touchdowns yesterday.
A lot of people are down on Romo. They had a tough couple games to start the season. On the road against St. Louis and Tennessee, San Francisco, they still got good players. Once Romo starts playing against those NFC East foes, he's going to be fine.
Another thing on Gio Bernard, too, is the Bengals' last 2 games have been absolute blowout wins. So he's getting a lot of garbage time carries there. Well, Jeremy Hill's getting the ball stop going.
But that kind of factors into the low yardage totals. He's getting so many rushes. The defense is knowing he's going to rush the ball because they're not going to pass when they're up 30 anymore. So the edge per carry is going to go up.
And Marvin Jones coming back too. That might help out the passing game a little bit. I know they're on a bye. He's scheduled to come back week 5.
Do we want to ask the question about Marvin Jones versus Mohamed Sanu? We probably get both on the waiver wire right now in some leagues. What do you want to do? I'll have another.
If you need a boost in passing touchdowns, if you have Tom Brady, there's also now.
Yeah, I like Jones over Sanu. Big time.
Sanu over Tom Brady.
He likes Sanu over Tom Brady. Yeah, there's quarterbacks catching balls too.
The good thing with Sanu, you're getting an extra 2 points.
Let's not count on this every week.
And so it's not going to happen every week, but to me he's got the ball around, and to me, I'm not counting on that every week, but what I question is if it means that a guy like Hugh Jackson is building confidence in Marvin Jones, right? Like, he's using him in all different phases of the game, and he's excelling at them. He had 8 targets this week as well, made 5 receptions. The question becomes, is this just him using what tools he has available? Marvin Jones was supposed to be the number 2 guy there this season, or when Jones is back on the field, is it Mohamed Sanu's offense? I don't know that I have the answer to tell you the truth. Let's pay attention through the bye, but you got the rest of the season. Sanu or Jones? I'm still Jones, I think.
Still Jones.
All right, so Jones is your dude.
10 touchdowns last year.
Jones, Sanu, Brady.
I'm not really confident in starting either of them unless they have a plus matchup against a weak defense.
Absolutely, but let's get Jones in our lineup and see, or in our roster part game, and then wait and see how it goes. Another guy back next week, we probably want to mention Ben Tate.
Yeah.
There's week 5, he's going to buy as well.
By next week, then back week 5. 67% owned, which is surprisingly low. Take a look for him if he's there. He's number 1 back.
Also read today
That
that
means bad news for Terrence West.
Yeah.
It's
Worse for Isaiah Crowell.
Yes.
Not
Although
just
Crowell had 11 totes yesterday and was better than West, but I didn't.
Crowell may be the guy that they're going to like late in the season and next year. He looks pretty good rookie as well, but in college. But I want to talk about what I read today. Cleveland, they're really excited to get Ben Tate back, but they haven't guaranteed him anything. They said that they're actually really happy with Terrence West, and Tate is going to have to prove himself. I still think West. Yeah, they're going to give Tate some looks, but he's going to have to really prove himself.
It kind of feels like a challenge to me to Tate. That's what it feels like. I mean, Terrence West has looked good enough, but it's not like he's running with a whole lot of steam. He scored a couple touchdowns and had a 100-yard game in his first game in relief, but it's not like he's blowing the doors off anybody. They're still giving touches to Crowell, and Crowell is more efficient this week.
Yeah.
It feels like a challenge to Tate. You probably see like a 60-40 in week 1 or the first week back, and then
You guys are also forgetting that when Ben Tate is healthy, he's a top 3 back. If that's probably top 3, top 5, according to him.
according to Ben.
I was going to say, not according to me, because he's not a top back at all for me, and I don't know how long he's ever going to be.
It's just bad. So this week just ran down to the top of my top 6 rankings. He might be pretty
He
close.
could be drawn in there.
It might be close.
There's also something on your list, Jordan Matthews.
Yeah, we missed
And
this
Cooper.
talking about Philly.
Yeah, we talked all Washington. We forgot. Really.
Jeremy Maclin, baby.
And Jeremy Maclin is a G. This guy's had 10 targets or more in each of his games this season. Scored a touchdown every time out. He had an 80-yarder wiped off yesterday. He still put up a $154 in a score. 8 catches on 10 targets. What I want to say about Maclin is that was the first time he's caught more than half the balls thrown his way.
Yeah.
I hopefully view that as a positive trend. If he can keep that up, then 6-7 catches a week is going to be pretty routine if he keeps drawing 10 looks. So Macklin's great. I bumped him up all the way to 16, 17 in my rest of the season ranking this morning.
He can go higher.
And he may if he keeps it up. The wide receiver 2 question is a question for me now there. Riley Cooper's still getting starter snaps. He's still playing a lot more than Jordan Matthews, but they went 3 wide on about 48 of 75. Don't quote me. Snaps this week. So lots of playing time for Jordan Matthews. He looked pretty sharp.
He did look sharp. He looked really sharp, and he was catching everything that was thrown away. The only thing I have is I don't think that you could put him in your lineup, at least not now, and expect that all the time, because Chip Kelly has so many weapons. It's just he uses so many different things that, again, like Matthews was kind of invisible, and a lot of people I heard yesterday, damn, I already dropped him. What are you going and drafting a rookie for and dropping him before you can really see what he can do? I just don't know from week to week if it's going to be Cooper, or it's going to be Matthews, or it's going
going to be Sproles getting all these catches. Still, I'm not completely confident. I like Matthews more than Cooper, but I did notice that Cooper was getting a lot more looks yesterday, a lot more touches, a lot more targets than what he's normally getting.
I don't have his numbers in front of me, but I think he had 6 targets. That was less than Jordan Matthews. And when I was watching that game, I saw Nick Foles throwing to him in all situations. On the outside, kind of running the screens.
And again, Zach Ertz, one catch, so you don't know from week to week. It could be any one of
that
these
second touchdown, though, he put the ball in there with 2 men all over him. Great throw, great catch. Trust his receiver. It's probably a little early to start using Jordan Matthews. I'm just saying, rest of the season, I think I'm more into him than I am Riley Cooper. Yeah. And I've got Riley Cooper on a few rosters. If I can make that trade this week, I'm going to do it because he's sitting on my bench anyway. Let's reserve Matthews to see how it develops.
There's definitely more upside there with Ryan Matthews or with Jordan Matthews. And he's got beats, man. He's at 81. He looks like T.O. back in the Philly days.
Eight catches, 59 yards for Jordan Matthews. I like him. I'm picking him up if you can. Probably not starting him because you just don't know if Chip Kelly, like you mentioned. Maybe Darren Sproles went off week 2. He didn't do anything week 3, you know.
Over time, you'll feel it out. You'll see what Chip Kelly wants to do.
You should own him.
Yeah.
I love, Kelly. Perfect example, last year they played Arizona Cardinals who can't defend the tight end. It was Zach Ertz. It was Brent Selleck catching a ton that day. Chip Kelly, he plays those defenses.
Yeah,
like no other.
He exploits defense probably better, honestly better than anyone. They have the top offense. They have the second best offense last year. They were like 11-2 in their last 12 games. They're really, Kelly has a grasp of things, and that's what he does. He exploits the defense. So we're looking at
Which is good news for Nick Foles, too.
Yeah, I think that's the answer.
Good news for Nick Foles.
We're talking about
Not the good news for Macklin. I think he's just an everyday wide receiver, too.
But he's smaller than Deshaun Jackson. Isn't he going to get cut? He's smaller than DK.
He should have did the bird dance to Deshaun and kicked him out of town. That would have been nice. But he's a class act. No celebration.
No, he just dropped the ball. That was it. Rookies that you dropped too early. I saw on, you know what? It might have been on Fantasy Sports Network, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong. Might have been pregame with Pat Mayo and Gary and Thorne, who said you don't even want to own Bishop Sankey anymore. Before this week, maybe they were right. But that might have been a move too early. At least it might have been for me. I mean, these guys are sharp as heck. I thought it was a great pregame. I really enjoyed watching it on Fantasy Sports Network, where my peers here all spend their Sundays and the rest of the week. But Sankey had 10 carries this week. He got them all in garbage time, and he only got them because they were getting smoked. Don't get me wrong. But he carried the ball a lot better than Sean Green did. And that was his first extended action of the season, and he looked okay. Again, week 4, I'm not touching Bishop Sankey. But if I have room on my roster, this could be a Zach Stacy kind of guy who kind of gets his feet under him in his rookie season after a certain period of time, and then starts leading the team. They don't want Sean Green being the lead back there at all. And Green only had 10 carries himself yesterday. I think we start to see Sankey getting more work, and if he establishes himself, he might be the RB2 that we hoped he was going to be at the start of the season. Hang on to him. Just hold your shares, right?
That's definitely that's not even on my radar. Dropping Bishop Sankey. I mean, no chance.
Don't rip these guys too hard.
Well, no chance I could drop him. You look at half the waiver wires, and there's nobody available for a running back. This guy, you could start. I think we all knew that coming in. He wasn't going to start. It was Sean Green, but Sean Green, this guy's shown he can't handle the load. I think just a matter of time before Bishop Sankey takes over. And, I think within 2 weeks, Bishop Sankey's going to be a decent flex option.
Well, Rob Silver, talking about Fantasy Sports Network, he was in today talking to Pat and Gary, and he did hear that about Sankey. And he had a lot to say about that. He said he guaranteed in about 5 to 7 weeks, Sankey is going to be a top 15 back.
That's my boy, Rob Silver.
And he said, it takes time for some of these rookies to get in there and, get their feet wet in the NFL. There's a big difference. Sometimes you don't see guys, it took Eddie Lacy a little bit to get going too. I'm not comparing them,
but it was right around week 5, week 4 last season. He had a concussion. He had some injury issues. Took him a concussion to lose it this season, I think.
And there's some news today too.
That's a story.
Out of Tennessee saying that Sankey, if he wants to get more touches, more looks, he's going to have to get quicker. His foot speed. He said his foot speed is really, really slow. So again, it's just some things that he has to tweak.
But he's going to get that over time. He's going to learn to pass block a little bit. Pro Football Focus actually rated him okay on his, let's say, 30 snaps this week in pass blocking. So I'd like to see that. he'll start to figure it out. Also, news out of Tennessee. Jake Walker is hurt, which feels like one of those injuries where he might not really
There's
be
going to be
hurt.
3 rookies starting next week.
They're going to go to Charlie Whitehurst first, which is a huge mistake, but that's where they're going. Which
That's
troubles
very
me a
good.
little bit for Kendall Wright, but
That's when you're going to see Justin Hunter actually
it may be.
reasonable.
Other quarterback news: Ryan Tannehill going to London, get a start there, and then it didn't sound like he had a lot of guarantees.
No, they had a meeting with him today apparently, and they're talking about Matt Moore really starting with.
Oh man, if
I
I'm
think
a Mike
it's
Wallace owner, I'm praying they stay with Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, and I think they're just kind of scaring Tannehill
A little bit as well.
As someone who streams defenses, I like Matt Moore. Good enough.
The more options, the better. I like Charlie Whitehurst on that note. Detroit play Tennessee this week? Maybe
No,
not.
Tennessee is going. Tennessee's on the road at Indianapolis.
Well, hold on to Indy's D the way
Yeah.
they're playing on offense.
I know. Angela, what a performance against the Jags, but it was
good.
more than I thought.
They
Because
threw the ball all day.
I was surprised.
The owners love that.
But let's talk about backs. We talk about Sankey. A guy I'm starting at running back in that game is Ahmad Bradshaw. This guy is for real. This guy catches the ball. He runs it. You know, the Colts show
Only
week in, week
25
out.
attempts in 3 games. But
Colts show that, they're committed to the run. Trent Richardson outrushed Bradshaw in week 2 by 8 touches, 8 rush attempts. Last week was trimmed down to 5. I think they're slowly learning. We got to give Bradshaw the ball more. He was up to 9 rushes against
I'm
Cats.
scared to say it, and I've written this out already for my touches and targets piece on Wednesday. I'm not like it. Like, that actually looked like a pretty capable backfield this week. Trent had 17 touches, 80, let's say 3 total yards.
Yeah.
80 even maybe actually.
Trent Richardson is startable. The touches he gets.
He's a flex. He had a couple of opportunities to score, didn't do it this week because that's kind of Trent's role. Can't seem to get into the end zone right now. But 14 carries, 17 touches, 80 total yards. Nowhere near as efficient as Bradshaw, but I don't think the team views Bradshaw as a 20-touch guy. So Trent's still going to get his work, particularly in wins like we saw yesterday, right? I like Trent as a flex.
But Bradshaw even
I flexed him with confidence yesterday.
they're going to share the ball there. I mean, Bradshaw has only 25 carries.
Bradshaw is the number 7 running back right now in fantasy circles. This guy is finding the end zone. And the thing
Doing
I like
good
about,
work as a receiver.
what I like about Bradshaw, he's getting touches receiving in the red zone.
Yeah, absolutely.
3rd and goal, Luck's doing a little shovel pass to Bradshaw, and that's working like crazy right now. So I like that matchup. A quick mention of a rookie that I really like, Dante Moncrief. He's a guy that I think you should have him. He's on your waiver wire piece. Yeah, he should be on your fantasy radar. Kind of like a Jordan Matthews.
T.Y. Hilton is actually good to go.
Yeah, T.Y. Hilton's good to go. He's a little banged up, but whether or not if he's not healthy, Reggie Wayne, if he's not fully healthy, Moncrief, they're gonna keep adding his touches.
If you've got room, if you got a deep bench, let's add him. 5 targets, 5 receptions, 55 yards yesterday. It was his best game. Like a guy like Bishop Sankey, it was his first extended look, and he got it because it was a blowout. But he acquitted himself pretty well. Yeah, I like Dante Moncrief.
Yeah, he's 0% owned. If T.Y. Hilton's thing becomes a thing, and he misses time, if he gets less work, Reggie Wayne's not getting as much work as at least I expected. I know a lot of us were on
Keep Nicks too. I don't think you can on Keep Nicks. He could be booted from the starting lineup by Moncrief halfway.
He did go 4 for 4 with a touchdown this week, or whatever that's worth.
Yeah, he was
With Hilton out of the game.
He was battling with flu.
Hilton scored 2 touchdowns in 3 games after going a whole season not scoring too. So
But he is a little.
I'm not starting Hakeem Nicks anywhere, but it could be worse. He scored twice.
Could be worse. All right, let's talk about tonight's game. If you're just joining us, they're giving away a Matt Forte jersey, and it is nice. I'm taking it.
We gotta hurry up and get our answers in.
Yeah, what you do, you just come down here to Shark Club, corner of Yonge and Dundas. You're gonna play the football game. There's a questionnaire. You fill it out. You win. You get the Forte jersey. Plus, they got drinks, food, and it's an awesome time every Monday. Come down
We
here and
haven't
check
won
it out.
yet. We've been here 20 weeks or something like that. Or 17 weeks, haven't won yet. Tonight's the night, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Well, maybe you'll win. All right, let's see at the game. Jets Bears. Looks like Decker's good, Marshall's good, Jeffrey's good. Hopefully you plug him in your lineup. You're a on them play. I don't know how effective Decker's going to be in the hamstring. He said he really hurt it. He's been bothered by it all training camp.
I'm going with the Bears. They just gave up. Jory Nelson just went off for 209 yards. Marshall and Jeffrey won't do that because they're not fully healthy, but they're gonna get a couple touchdowns in this one.
Speaking of Forte, he's probably not going to have a good day. He didn't have a great week last
Number one run defense in the league over the last 2 seasons combined.
Chicago, one of the worst, so we could expect
It's the worst. I might.
Johnson loves Monday night.
One of those guys scores a long touchdown. I can't tell you right now if it's Chris Johnson or Chris Ivory. Maybe it's Mr. Monday night himself.
Chris Ivory.
Anyway, one of them scores a long touchdown tonight. Chicago is struggling to tackle. I don't know if Shea McClellan is up tonight. I don't think he is. They've got a lot of injuries on defense, Chicago, but I still like them and Jake Cutler to pull it out against a Swiss cheese secondary in New York. Alshon Jeffrey's still a little dinged up, I think. He wasn't running too well a week ago, that's for sure. But you're starting both those guys with confidence against a bad defense, bad secondary. For what it's worth, it's not fantasy relevant, but I am interested to see if Rex Ryan dials up the pressure up front against Shea Cutler, tries to force him into some like Cutler-esque mistake.
He likes to throw picks in prime time.
He likes to throw picks in prime time.
The Football Life Brand Marshall just aired past week.
Show.
Brand Marshall going to bring it tonight.
And Brandon Marshall is a G. Like,
he's ready for prime
credit
time.
to him as a football player, as a man.
Yeah.
Had some issues. Brandon Marshall's a G.
Yeah.
I think he's going to get him tonight as well.
Not Brandon Marshall tonight.
Best Jay Gurin. You know, Jay Gurin, I love him. He always goes off on this Monday night. But let me tell you about Mark Trestman and this Chicago Bear offense. They got these 2 receivers, the monsters of the Midway. Brandon Marshall, there's no stopping this guy in the red zone. He's a 6'4", 205-pound receiver. This guy's going to grab 2 touchdowns, maybe 3 tonight again.
It's pretty good. Green's up there now, so we're just about ready for kickoff.
Yeah, with that, let's go. Good sign off.
Thank you for stopping into the locker room, and we'll be back here at Shark Club Toronto, Yonge and Dundas, every Monday. Come by and check us out. Thanks for watching. S. McLaren, John Bones, Mike Omelon, Chris Lee.
Thanks, guys.